The camera panned across the rain-soaked street as Marcus rushed toward the huddled figure beneath the flickering streetlight. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness change lives forever, the narrator's voice intoned. If you've ever wondered whether good deeds truly matter in today's world, this story will answer that question. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories that restore faith in humanity. Marcus Jenkins wiped down the last table of his shift at Rosie's Diner, his shoulders aching from the 12-hour workday. The clock above the kitchen door read 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes until he could finally head home to his daughter, Lily. At 38, the lines around his eyes had deepened, partly from exhaustion but mostly from worry. Single parenthood hadn't been the plan, but after his wife Sarah's death 3 years ago, plans had become luxuries he couldn't afford. "You heading out soon?" Doreen, the night manager, called from behind the counter where she counted the day's receipts. "Just finishing up," Marcus replied, tucking his order pad into his apron pocket. "Lily's babysitter needs to get home by midnight." The April rain hammered against the windows, turning the neon diner sign into a blur of pink and blue reflections on the wet pavement outside. Marcus grimaced at the downpour. His apartment was only 6 blocks away, but his umbrella had broken last week, and he hadn't had time to replace it. "Weather's brutal tonight," Doreen commented, glancing up from her counting. "You want to borrow my umbrella?" Marcus was about to accept when the bell above the door jingled. A young woman stumbled in, drenched from head to toe. Her dark hair clung to her pale face, and her thin jacket offered little protection against the storm. She couldn't have been more than 25. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely audible over the rain. "Are you still open?" "I just need to warm up for a minute." Doreen checked her watch with a frown, but Marcus was already moving toward the coffee machine. "We're open," he said, pouring a fresh cup. "Coffee's on the house." The woman's hands trembled as she accepted the mug. "Thank you." "I'm Emma," she offered, her voice carrying a slight accent Marcus couldn't place. "Marcus," he replied with a tired smile. "Rough night to be caught in the rain." Emma nodded, her eyes downcast. "My car broke down about a mile back. My phone's dead, and I don't know anyone in this part of town." Marcus recognized the look in her eyes, the same lost expression he'd worn for months after Sarah died. It was the look of someone whose plans had fallen apart, leaving them adrift in circumstances they never anticipated. "Where are you headed?" he asked, sliding into the booth across from her. "I was supposed to be at a job interview tomorrow morning in Westbrook," Emma replied, her voice catching. "I drove in from Millfield. It's my 3rd interview this month, and I really need this one to work out." Marcus glanced at Doreen, who was making a show of being busy with the register but was clearly listening. They both knew Westbrook was at least 20 miles away. "The buses don't run this late," Marcus said, thinking aloud. "And in this weather, a tow truck might take hours." Emma sipped her coffee, her shoulders slumped in defeat. "It's okay. I'll figure something out. Maybe there's a motel nearby." "Not in this neighborhood," Doreen chimed in. "Nearest one's by the highway, about 4 miles from here." Marcus checked his watch, 11:53 p.m. The babysitter would be expecting him soon. He thought of Lily, asleep in her bed with her stuffed elephant tucked under her arm. Then he looked at Emma, alone and stranded on a night when even stray cats were seeking shelter. "I have an idea," he said finally. "My apartment's not far. You can crash on our couch tonight, and I'll drive you to your interview in the morning. My shift doesn't start until noon tomorrow." Emma's eyes widened with surprise and hesitation. "I couldn't impose like that." "It's just a couch," Marcus assured her. "And I've got a 7-year-old daughter who would never forgive me if I told her I left someone stranded in a storm." Doreen gave Marcus an approving nod. "Jenkins here is the most decent man in the 5 boroughs. You'd be safer with him than in any motel." After a moment's consideration, Emma accepted with grateful tears in her eyes. I don't know how to thank you. Pay it forward someday, Marcus replied simply. They made the dash to his apartment building through the downpour, sharing Doreen's umbrella. Marcus paid the babysitter, a college student from the building next door, and showed Emma to their modest living room. It's not much, he apologized, gathering spare blankets from the hallway closet. It's perfect, Emma insisted, taking in the cozy space with its mismatched furniture and walls decorated with Lily's artwork. You have a beautiful home. Marcus smiled, thinking of how Sarah would have laughed at calling their cramped two-bedroom a beautiful home. But looking at it through a stranger's eyes, he could see the warmth in it, the life he'd managed to build for Lily despite everything. Bathrooms down the hall. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen, he said. I'll wake you at 7 for your interview. Thank you, Marcus, Emma said softly. Not many people would do this for a stranger. He shrugged. We've all been caught in the rain sometimes. The next morning, Lily was delighted to find a guest in their home. She bombarded Emma with questions over breakfast, showing off her school projects and favorite books while Marcus prepared eggs and toast. My daddy makes the best pancakes in the world, Lily informed Emma seriously. But only on Sundays because that's our special day. Emma smiled. He seems like a wonderful father. The best, Lily agreed. Even if he doesn't know how to braid hair properly. Marcus drove Emma to her interview, wishing her luck as she stepped out of his old sedan, looking transformed in the dry clothes she'd retrieved from her car earlier that morning. I can't thank you enough, she said, her confidence visibly restored. You've saved me in more ways than you know. Knock 'em dead, he replied with a smile. And remember, Rosie's Diner if you're ever in the neighborhood again. He watched her walk into the gleaming office building before driving to pick up Lily from school. The encounter faded from his mind in the following days, lost in the rhythm of work shifts, school drop-offs, and the constant juggling act of single parenthood. 5 days later, Marcus and Lily were sharing dinner in front of the television, a Friday night tradition, when Lily suddenly jumped up, pointing at the screen. Daddy! That's the lady who slept on our couch. Marcus looked up from his plate to see Emma on the screen, dressed in an elegant blue dress, accepting an award on a brightly lit stage. The caption identified her as Emma Novak, recipient of the Young Entrepreneur of the Year award for her work developing affordable prosthetic limbs for children in developing countries. And I want to share a story, Emma was saying into the microphone. Last week, my car broke down in the rain, and I was stranded with a dead phone and no hope of making it to my investor meeting the next morning. A waiter at a diner took me in, gave me shelter, and drove me to my meeting without asking for anything in return. That meeting secured the funding that will help thousands of children walk, play, and live normal lives. Marcus stared at the screen in disbelief as Emma continued. I don't know if he's watching, but Marcus, you reminded me why I started this work in the first place. Because small acts of kindness can change the world. Thank you. Lily bounced on the couch, clapping her hands. Daddy! You're a hero. Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. He thought of Sarah, who had always believed in the ripple effect of good deeds. I just gave her a couch to sleep on, kiddo. But look what happened. Lily insisted, her eyes shining with pride. The following Monday, Marcus arrived at Rosie's Diner to find a crowd of reporters waiting. Emma's speech had gone viral, and someone had identified the diner from her description. Doreen was beaming as she handed him a stack of messages from people wanting to thank him. You're famous, Jenkins, she teased. Marcus shook his head, embarrassed by the attention. I just did what anyone would do. But as the day progressed, he realized that wasn't entirely true. Customers kept approaching him, sharing their own stories of times when strangers had helped them, or when they had failed to help others and regretted it. His simple act had sparked conversations about compassion in a city often criticized for its indifference. That evening, as he was finishing his shift, Emma walked through the door. The diner fell silent as she approached Marcus with a smile. I hoped I'd find you here, she said. I wanted to thank you properly. Marcus wiped his hands on his apron. You didn't have to come all this way. I did, Emma insisted. Because what you did matters. My company is establishing a foundation to help single parents access resources for their children. We'd like to name it after you, if that's okay. Marcus was speechless. He thought of all the times he'd struggled to pay for Lily's school supplies, or had to choose between fixing the car and buying new shoes for her growing feet. There are a lot of people who need that kind of help, he managed finally. I know, Emma replied. And it all starts with one person deciding to be kind when it would be easier not to be. The foundation became a reality within months. Marcus remained at Rosie's diner, declining Emma's offer to join the organization full-time. I'm just a waiter, he insisted. That's what I know how to do. But he did agree to serve on the advisory board, offering insights from his own experiences as a single parent. The Jenkins Foundation provided emergency assistance, childcare subsidies, and educational support to thousands of families within its first year. Lily, now 8, became the foundation's unofficial mascot, proudly telling anyone who would listen about how her daddy had helped a lady in the rain and changed the world. 1 year after that rainy night, Marcus stood on a stage much like the one where he'd first seen Emma on television. As he looked out at the audience of donors and recipients of the foundation's help, he thought about how differently things might have turned out if he'd simply wished Emma well and sent her back into the storm. I'm not special, he told the crowd. I was just tired and wanted to go home that night. But my daughter once asked me what her mother would have done in that situation, and I knew the answer immediately. My late wife believed that we're all connected, that helping others is how we help ourselves. So when you leave here tonight, remember that the next time you see someone caught in the rain, literally or figuratively, you have a choice. And that choice might seem small to you, but it could be everything to them. As applause filled the room, Marcus caught sight of Lily in the front row, her face glowing with pride. Beside her sat Doreen from the diner and several of the regular customers who had become like family over the years. Emma joined him on stage, handing him a plaque commemorating the foundation's first anniversary. From a cup of coffee to changing thousands of lives, she said. That's the power of kindness. Later that night, as Marcus tucked Lily into bed, she asked, Do you think Mommy can see what we did? Marcus smoothed her hair back from her forehead, thinking of Sarah and how she would have loved the way their lives had unfolded. I think she's been guiding us all along, kiddo. Like how she made your car break down that day so you'd meet Emma? Lily suggested sleepily. Marcus smiled. Maybe exactly like that. As he turned off Lily's light, Marcus paused in the doorway, reflecting on how a simple decision on a rainy night had transformed not just Emma's life or the lives of the children her company helped, but his own life as well. He had found purpose beyond survival, community beyond loss, and hope in the most unexpected places. Sometimes, he thought, the smallest kindnesses created the largest ripples. And in those ripples, we might just find our way home. If you were moved by this story of how a simple act of kindness can change lives, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Remember, compassion costs nothing but can be worth everything to someone in need. Share your own stories of unexpected kindness in the comments below, and join us next week for another remarkable true story that proves humanity's capacity for goodness.